Here.
Chair Kellogg,
Present.
we have a quorum present.
Thank you. Next item.
Item B, Chair's remarks.
I have none at this time. Next item.
We're going to move to item D, unfinished business. A communication requesting commission approval of the recommended comprehensive executive budget appropriations ordinance for fiscal year 2024-2025 and the projected budget for fiscal year 2025-2026.
Next item.
There will be a presentation by the county clerk.
Madam Clerk? Yes. Okay. Good morning. Oh, good afternoon. Yeah, with long morning. Good afternoon. So we have received the recommendation from Executive CEO, Executive Warren Evans, as relates to the recommendation for your department for the next fiscal year. Does this recommendation reflect the necessary resources for you to carry out the duties of your office?
First of all, good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon again.
Looking over what was recommended, there were two positions in particular that were removed. However, Mr. Seals and MMB have discussed that, so I'm in great hope and expectation that they will be replaced.
Okay, thank you. And at this time, you may begin with opening remarks.
Let me just say that I remain to be proud, honored, and blessed to be the Wayne County Clerk. I am happy to be in a leadership role in an office of some of the most resilient, hardworking employees, probably within Wayne County. And I just want to open it up for whatever it is this body wants to ask me.
Okay, at this time, so we have received the recommendation and budget summary. One thing that I want to ask, and I had mentioned this to you after the recent election. So election night, there was some delay in the results, I guess, being delivered, being made public. And so from what has been stated in the media, but we have the clerk and the chief deputy in front of us now. There were some technical issues associated with preventing not timely or quick results being posted or becoming public. And so from that, it's being said that there were some technical issues which may have caused that delay. And so I wanted to ask you specifically as it relates to the upcoming election, you as the county chief election officer, do you have and feel that you have all the necessary resources, both financially, but also from a standpoint of infrastructure, maintenance support, technical support, any support that you believe that will help in the receipt and delivery of the information that you receive from the 43 communities?
If I may, and I'd like to answer that probably in a 2 to 3 pronged response. Number one, take away the technical concerns that we had. It's very important to understand that we have 43 different communities, as you well know, and with those individual clerks, different things can happen as far as them getting their process together to bring it in or whatever the case might be. So I know a lot of times the media will say with a blanket, Wayne County is slow, where indeed it might be Livonia, it might be Dearborn, it might be Detroit, it might be wherever, where we cannot report 100% until that local clerk has done her or his due diligence. So that's one thing, because with the technical support in tech, there still might be a lag. And as I'm so over being compared to Oakland County, Macomb County, wherever else, it's very important to keep in mind they don't have the number of precincts that we do. So more than likely we would lag behind them. However, as you asked, what happened in the primary when we saw that certain things were not communicating, we immediately converted to, if you will, our old school way of having the local clerks bring their information down. As for this election, I feel pretty optimistic. As late as yesterday, we've had security people for election security people come in from the state, go over our system. We have ordered new equipment as far as firewalls, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm feeling optimistic, but again, technical things do happen. But at this point, I think that we will be fine. As far as staffing, we always can use more. However, we're pulling individuals to do some of the minor things like working with the voter registrations, making sure that those are getting to the specific clerk's offices that they need to. So all of those auxiliary type things that don't really require election experience or knowledge, we're pulling individuals from other locations in the county clerk's office to help us.
I will like to and say and proudly say that I've had the opportunity of working with you and the elections division for a number of years. And you all, like you stated, are probably one of the most dedicated and focused on precise and accuracy of the information prior to it being delivered. So I have the utmost confidence in the election division and the people who I know are at the forefront of coordinating this information from around the 43 communities. So I'd like to say that.
I appreciate that. And if I can add to that, because I think that's another component that people don't understand, that from the time, well, you understand, from the time that we're in election season, and our staff is a total of 4 people in elections. From the time the onset of the election season is nothing for us to be there day round for 12, 14 hours every day. And then when election night on election day, they come in at 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. We do not leave. This last primary, we didn't leave the office until like 11:45 the next day and left the director and deputy director there. And then they immediately go into 14 consecutive days of canvassing the vote. So that's just tip of the iceberg to call them dedicated, but I appreciate
Absolutely.
your compliment.
Absolutely. Okay, we're going to go to commissioners for questions. Commissioners, Commissioner Baidoon, and then Commissioner Anderson, and then I'm absolutely going to look on the left. Anyone on the left who wants? Okay, Commissioner. Okay, we're going to just go down this row. Okay,
Thank you.
Commissioner Baidoon first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Clerk Garrett, for everything that you do in your department. A special thank you to Wayne Seals. He's always coming through whenever we need him.
All right.
No, he does. He does. He does. He saves us.
Mm.
So let me understand this, Mrs. Garrett. So on election night, there was a glitch in the system. So like Dearborn could not submit these ballots or the results electronically to Wayne County? Is that what happened?
I hate the word glitch. When we saw that the firewall was not responding as it should, we immediately shut the process down and reverted to the old way that we do it as far as having the local clerk bring I call them memory cards and everything down to the county clerk's office.
So all of these clerks within the 43 communities had to drive down and bring the actual ballots or the
No,
cards?
no, we
the
don't,
cards?
we don't deal in ballots.
Okay.
We never have ballots. Not all 43, and the number is not in the forefront of my mind, but at the point that it was discovered, it probably was about 10 something or something like that. So it wasn't all. I remember Brownstown, City of Detroit. I might get in trouble naming them, but it wasn't all, but it was nothing but once our IT person recognized that it was not communicating as far as when that transfer was happening, we shut it down. And as I stated, reverted to the old way where yes.
Yeah. What is your expectation as far as turnout this November election? I'm pretty sure it's going to be very high. And are we prepared from your perspective?
I wish I had that crystal ball, but I'm always going to be on the optimistic side. I think that it will be a great turnout.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson, and then Commissioner Scott.
Along the same lines as my colleague, I'm hearing, and I know there's so much floating around information, misinformation, in the election, that we're faced with. I wonder how many concerns you've heard expressed about the problem getting election workers because they're scared for their safety. They're scared for threats because of threats and harassment. And I don't know if there's been any issue, certainly not yet, but I think there was maybe the last time around, people carrying guns at the election site. And that concerned the election workers, and they were fearing for their safety there too, because just every couple of days you hear of some shooting that's taking place somewhere. So I understand their concern, but I don't know what's your response been, or how do you feel we're going to be in a position to deal with that? And I know that's at the local level.
Yeah, well, it's a couple of things with that. None of us can foresee anything, but the prayer is that we don't have to engage in any of that type of nonsense. It wasn't just the election workers, clerks as myself. I know our city clerk, the Secretary of State, we all received threats. But I do think that in 2020, I think that we were caught off guard for sure. And most times than not, when you deal with circumstances like that, you like to at least feel that you have prepared yourself, whether it's operations or police or whatever else, to address it should it arise again. As far as for election workers, I haven't heard a lot of feedback about the local clerks having a shortage. So I think that they just shifted and compensated for possibly those that no longer wanted to come. And then another thing is that with our early voting and all of that, things have changed. The dynamics of that have changed. But I feel and even prior to 2020 in the county clerk's office, I made sure that with the sheriff, and as well as, because we're here in the city of Detroit, whoever the chief of police was at that time, I basically have them on speed dial in my phone. And then the sheriff, prior to our current sheriff, we always had a deputy there. So I'm thinking and I'm praying that we will be fine.
And last question, I guess what I thought I heard at one time, there was legislation that was moving to try to have gun-free zones around voting locations. And I know it's a hot topic, but I don't know if have you heard of any movement on that at all?
I haven't.
Yeah, okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Commissioner Scott, McCormick, Baker, McCormick, Marecki, Clemente, and in that order. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Madam Clerk,
Good afternoon.
and our former staffer from here.
He's been gone a while, so he can't still have that title.
All right. Yeah, and he's doing a good job with you, so.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, are you all moved in to your new office?
Yes.
In the CJC building?
Yeah, I don't have an office over there. It was felt that I didn't need an office, even though I have over 80-something employees over there, but that's another story for another day. But the staff has moved in. There's still some outstanding concerns that we kind of beat the drum about for over a year that we wanted to have addressed, but Dwayne has talked as late as the night before last with James Heath that those things would be taken care of. But in answer to your question, the staff has moved in. We spent basically 5 hours over there on the first day that they opened to the public. So
Okay, so you're still down in Greektown?
I'm over there. I'm at KMAC. I'm at Lincoln Hall. Where I have staff, I think it's important that I have a presence there and that they see me, the clerk, in their location. So I have an office everywhere except for in the new CJC. The other day, he made fun of me. I was walking around with my purse on my shoulder. Then when the sheriff had come down to visit, I had to ask the administrator, could we sit in her office? I mean, I didn't have to ask her, but courtesy, I did. So, yeah, but we're moved in.
Okay. Wow. I truly congratulate you, Em. You gotta.
That's okay. I'm used to it.
All right. Well, thank you. So, is there anything that you really need, that you don't have right now? Because, before it was the move over there where you got that, and it was a lot of staff that you needed. So,
I think now we have like 59 vacancies. Out of that 59, 48 of them are court oriented employees. But I, again, am in great hope and expectation with the work that is going on to increase salaries.
mhm.
I'm thinking that should help us after that has been finalized. Oh, okay. Well, I forgot that because we just do it. So at KMAC, because as you know, the Vitals Division moved over to 400 Monroe.
Right.
So what we would like to do currently is we have the e-file clerks in the basement, no windows, get the picture. So we want to relocate them up to the second floor where the Vitals Division used to be, where they're in a nicer environment, but that's it, right? But other than that, that's what we're working on
So
now.
that's in the works now, though, too.
Yes.
Is that with the building authority that you're coordinating with or yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. And I know we're gonna be all right on election day because we're gonna all work with you on it to make sure that it happens.
Right. As late as for the Labor Day parade, the Attorney General was making sure I had her cell number. So I think we'll be fine.
Yeah. That was a great Labor Day.
It was.
I tell you, I was just so proud of all of us at that train station down there. It was great. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Wayne County Commissioner Monique Baker McCormick. I represent Bradford Township and Northwest Detroit. I think we're supposed to officially do that in
Yes,
these
yeah.
proceedings. So just wanted to make sure for those on Zoom. CJC office. Just to clarify, you don't have an office currently. Is there any space, cubby hole somewhere, anywhere that we can accommodate you? Has that been looked into, discussed?
It's been discussed ad nauseum. It has. So
But no, then,
I don't see it.
no. Okay. All right. Moving on. Your call center. I know that was something new that we funded last year, was it, or two? How long has it been around? I don't know.
We
But-
just keep moving. Commissioner.
Okay, how is that? How is that going? That's what, are we funded enough to have that running for sufficiently? Is that?
We are and it's going great. I get so many compliments about 400 Monroe when I'm out and about or emails. And again, it's because of the staff, absolutely. But the fact that we went from being able to seat 8 customers to 80 customers, that helps. I think that the appointments help. People are so amazed when they come in and they might see a line, but they're called. It's time for their appointment time. Then we've also added like I call them intake specialists, where when the individuals get off the elevator, making sure they have the right documents that they need to have and that. So it's going great. It is.
So it makes the process a lot smoother.
Right.
So that's also where weapon permits and
Everything for
is
vital.
done. Great, great. Because I haven't gotten any concerns, citizens calling about wait times or anything now. So that's good to hear. And I know this has been a question that I've continued to ask year after year about the independence of having an attorney for the clerk versus board of canvassers, independence of that. Has there been any movement on that?
There's been no movement. What I have been continuously told that if there came a time where I felt that there was a conflict that Mr. Heath would allow for me to have outside counsel. However, it still isn't the issue that I brought to this body in the first place, that if the same attorney, same corporation counsel individual represents the clerk, the board of canvassers, the election commission. My concern, and there have been occasions where my opinion was not in lockstep with theirs, but here you have the same individual that's representing everybody.
Right.
So I guess maybe that's one of those fork in the roads that he speaks of, that if that happens, I'll get outside counsel.
Okay. Yeah, well, I know for sure that happens. And I want to just make sure that there's some independence there. It's really important that we have a attorney that's going to talk to the individual concerns of the clerk versus the board of canvassers or the election commission. So if you run into that circumstance and there is a need for outside counsel, as long as we're at the point where we say, okay, this will be provided, you think that that's sufficient to help in that situation, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And if I can finish up,
Mhm.
but that's not to say with the current corp counsel, Becky, and the lately transition in Kruma, they've served us very well.
Right, right. Yes, and we certainly aren't, trying to talk down independence there. And as long as you can move towards a independent counsel as needed, then I think that's important. Thank you very much
Thank
for all
you.
you do. Okay.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Madam Clerk, for always being available. I mean, if I text you about something within minutes, so I do really appreciate that. And I try to not do that very much. But yeah, just like Commissioner Baker McCormick, I never hear anything negative about the office, especially after COVID and everything got back on track. It's all good. I know this has nothing to do with you, but I just wanted to ask your opinion. It doesn't have to do with Wayne County. But and one of the things when I was city clerk, one of the hard, a lot of it's hard, but one of the hard things where you were setting up the precincts to get a balance between a Democrat and a Republican, which you're supposed to have at every precinct. There was a lot of news reporting about this last election and of one city having very mismatched numbers. I get it. It's hard to do that, especially if you have a huge city. But do you have any insight of what's going to happen in the general election? Because I had heard that they were offered help from the state. I don't know if any of this is true, but it was quite a difference in the numbers. And have you heard anything for the general on how that might be alleviated?
You've given me something to check into. Definitely, I know even in 2020, as well as in the primary, the state does offer, and I can't think of what the Secretary of State calls the people that join into that brigade, so to speak. But I haven't zoned in on making sure, because as you know, there's lanes, and with a locally elected clerk, they felt like you don't belong in my business. But for curiosity's sakes, I probably will raise that question and get back with you.
It's just, you know, I mean, all the right or wrong, there's just so much mistrust, not just, it's all over the country. And that just adds to fuel, you know,
Sure.
fuel to fire. But okay, I was just curious about that. Thank you.
Okay, I can speak to that. One aspect is if it's referring to the city of Detroit, the city clerk, and I spoke to her as late as last week, has been making efforts to reach out to both parties to have people to come and become election inspectors. The lawsuit was filed without reaching out to the clerk to talk about and try to facilitate bringing people in. And I know that has been a problem, even when I worked in the Department of Elections during the election process. So I'm saying, so the clerk, yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kara Clementi, I represent Lincoln Park, River Rouge, Ecorse, Melvindale, and parts of Detroit, Southwest. Thank you very much. Since I've been on this commission, I've had a few instances that I've had to reach out, and you're very responsive. After the election, I checked in with all my local clerks because I have really good relationships with them. And they just stopped when things were happening, switched gears and it was not a big deal. Their chips were escorted down by our police force, so everything was very secure. And I thank you. And I was one of those waiting for all the everything to be in all the precincts, and it happened, and it was great. And is the election now certified completely through county, state? Isn't there like a certification? And when was that done?
I believe it was August the 21st or 22nd.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll now go to Commissioner Baidoon. He will be the last to speak on this.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Unless there's any additional questions.
Commissioner Sam Baidoon, representing the city of Dearborn and Northern Allen Park. I'm sorry, Madam Chair, Madam Clerk, I forgot to ask, are people still required to register online to take an appointment, or do you take walk-ins?
Let me say this, we like the appointment process. However, and this is not, if people show up, no one is turned away.
Okay.
They would have to be worked in between the appointments. But yes, appointments are still in play.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And with that, Madam Clerk, do you have any closing remarks you would like to leave with the committee?
I'd like to just double back on what Commissioner Marecki was speaking of. And of course, I was aware of that. However, I don't speak on behalf of other clerks. And I do know that that has always been the mission of the city clerk. But since you spoke on her behalf, I said I would too. But in short, I just like to thank you for your assistance in all of the things from the county clerk's office that we've had to come forth to you all.
And thank you for your 24-hour service.
Yeah, you know it, right?
But thank you, appreciate it.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Madam Clerk?
Up next, we have the prosecuting attorney.
The other. Would the prosecutor's office please step forward?
Sitting here?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
There you go.
Madam Clerk. Me, right here.
Madam Clerk.
Oh, no, Madam, no, I mean, Madam Prosecutor. Madam Prosecutor, listen, long wait. Madam Prosecutor, that was hilarious. Madam Prosecutor.
Yes.
We've received the CEO's recommendation for your department for the next fiscal year. Does this budget that's being recommended by CEO Evans reflect the appropriate and necessary resources for you to operate your office in the next fiscal year?
You know, I've been doing this for, I think, 21 years now. And this is the very first year where I can say yes. I'm very happy with the CEO's recommendation. I mean, it's not everything we need, obviously.
Yeah.
But it was a very good recommendation. We were very pleased with it. I want to go through just a few things with you. But I have to tell you that the word of the day for me is gratitude, because for years I've been working with various commissions, not the current makeup. I love the current makeup, and not the current CEO, but just it's been a long road. So really gratitude, acceptance, understanding, appreciation, respect, and support. One thing that I always tell, that we always tell our victims of crime and our survivors, they want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to be believed. And I have to tell you that I feel seen, heard, and believed. And after 20 years plus of pitching, of explaining and arguing for our needs, of offering data and proof of everything that we needed, in these days, or these past few years, there's been no horse trading behind the scenes after I left the table at the expense of public safety. There haven't been broken promises. There's been honesty, and there hasn't been gamesmanship and one-upsmanship. I mean, it's been the makeup of the commission, the CEO's office, our collaborative partners. It really is a collaboration. And like I said, it's taken me 20 years to say that, but it's very, very true. And like I said, my staff and I feel seen, heard, supported, believed, and appreciated. And for all of this, I want to thank the CEO especially and his staff, all of you and the entire Wayne County Commission. My staff I heard the clerk say that she's the hardest working staff. I'm not going to dispute that, but I have a very hardworking staff too that have built bridges and worked very hard through the most hardest of times, and still hard. I thank them for their willingness to dig in and really do what we all collectively, you, me, all of us, really want. And that's for Wayne County to be safe for everybody. And it's a difficult proposition, not going to lie, but it's really good to work with collaborative partners who really don't have agendas that I can see. Maybe I'm naive, but this is what I see. And I can compare the last 20 years with what we have now. And actually the last couple of budget cycles, but this year was particularly heartening from what we saw. And I just want to talk about that for a minute. I did receive a list of 31 questions a couple of days ago. We would like to have more time, but we did get it done. And so I know you have them before you, at least I hope you do. And I hope at some point, if you can't do it now or you haven't had a chance to read it, that you will. It really lays out in great detail what we've been doing, where we want to go, where we have been. And I think it'd be helpful for you to see, because there's going to be a time, maybe next year, I hope not, maybe the year after, when I'm going to be back here begging again. And I want to just give you this backstory, this collective support for, and don't forget, before I go any further. So I really, really, truly thank you. I want to focus today on 5 things, and I have about 10 or so minutes. I'm not going to talk long. I've talked for hours before, and I'm not doing that today. No need, when I'm pretty happy. I want to talk about recruitment and retention. I want to talk about our fiscal year 23-24 accomplishments. I want to talk about the Conviction Integrity Unit support and expansion. I want to talk about our short-term goals for the next fiscal year. And I want to talk about our long-term goals that will really affect justice in Wayne County. And these are long-term, probably several years out, but I want to put them on your radar because these are things that I think that we really need to get where we want to go as a county. And I just want you to start thinking about them now. And I will be coming back to start up again to the Public Service Committee, the Public Safety Committee and Homeland Security to talk about these things in detail. As far as recruitment and retention, we gave you quite a bit of information in the materials. we've changed our whole ideology about recruitment because as you know, pre-pandemic, we were not properly staffed. The pandemic was just devastating for us all. And the people who didn't come back and the people didn't want, there was no new normal. And so we really had to dig down deep to figure out how we were going to how we're going to help the prosecutor's office even run. We were very, very heavy with new lawyers, still are. And we had to just think of different ways to do things. I'd always have a director of recruiting. We had always gone to the law schools and recruit to their job fairs and all of that. We've always done a lot of things, but right now we are recruiting all over the country. I want to tell you some of those results. And we always go to job fairs. We have a real presence now at the National Black Prosecutors and also the National District Attorneys Association. Anyone that wants to hire lawyers, we try to send a contingent there. We have now started sending our alumni. You would think that we would have done this before, our alumni to their own law schools to recruit. I know I went to my own law school to get an award earlier this year, and we were talking about the jobs that people had. And I realized I hadn't even sent the material to my own law school. And so when I talked to some of the young lawyers, they would have liked to have come, but of course they all had jobs. We had this year, it was different. We were finally able to afford again, the Prosecuting Attorneys Association of Michigan have the paid internships, of course, that we have to pay for. So we were finally able to pay for some this year, very successful. Most of our interns are unpaid. We've had as many as 70 in the past. And we had some from out of state as a result of our reach out and recruitment efforts. And we received rave reviews from the ones that were out of state. They want to come now to Wayne, and they're not even from Wayne County. We had one that was from California. I think so. And now they want to come to Wayne County and work because of the experience they had in our office. So I'm told by my Chief of Staff, Daryl Carson, who's here, that we have 4 already out-of-state law students that want to come to Wayne County and work. And it's the reputation. I don't think I'm too braggadocious to say it's my reputation, the reputation of our staff, the reputation of Wayne County, and they want to come here and work. And this is just for an internship. So of course, we hope that as a result of the internship, they want to come here and work permanently. But we don't pay that well in terms of our internships, and we never will be able to, I don't think. But there is one issue, and we've got to find a way collectively, I think, to figure out housing situations for law students that are coming across country that want to stay here and eventually, contribute to our economy here, and then go back to their law schools in the states that they live in and tell them of our personal experiences. And I remember very quickly when I was an intern, when I was out of college a long time ago, before I went to law school, I stayed for my finance internship in the campus of a school. I think it was NYU one year, Columbia University another year, in a little room, but it's something I didn't have to pay for that was subsidized by somebody. And so I think that that you as a commission, we as a county, should start looking at things. And this, I think, is just not just our office. I think for all of Wayne County, if we have people, and I know we have all these, at least in the past, we had all these different jobs to fill in the county, that this is something that can be extended to everybody. So we are talking to some people that we all know, but of course I won't mention any names now, that might be interested in such a thing. I have not yet, my Chief of Staff had the idea, I have not yet talked to any of our local, colleges, universities who don't have students staying on campus in the summertime, because these are summer. And I think if we can find a way to subsidize or completely pay for just for 3 months of housing, then we can attract untold numbers eventually of people in Wayne County. So that's an idea I want to just throw out there. And again, we have 4 already that want to come here, and we have been initially hesitant about making offers to them or encouraging them when we might have no place for them to live. But I'm gonna step out on that branch. I asked my Chief of Staff, go ahead and extend the offers. We'll find a way to have them stay. So
On that note, I just met with the president of Wayne State, a remarkable woman. I would encourage you to reach out to the president of Wayne State.
Okay, I will do that. We have a partnership with Wayne State I'm going to tell you about in a minute. So again, the law days. The other thing that I think is important, we created a position of project consultant legal aid, and those are positions we're trying to think like the big firms. Now, I never wanted to work for the big firms. Usually people who want to work in public interest and public service don't want to work for big firms, but sometimes they do. And so we are actually hiring law students in their 3rd year that are then committed to us
to work when they take the bar and then pass the bar. So we call them project consultant legal aids. I don't know how many we have now. I think over 10 of them, if I'm correct. And we pay them, I think it's $20 to $25 an hour, I think. And once they take the bar, if they pass the bar, they automatically become Assistant Prosecuting Attorney 1, the entry level. So they don't have to go through the interview process and all that again, automatic. And they are committed to us until then. So we give them 2 opportunities to pass the bar. And if they don't pass after the second time, it's going to be up to me whether we want to keep them, but we can keep them for the 2 years because the statute allows us to have them practice under what we call a student rule, as long as they're supervised by an attorney in the room. So they do great work for us. The last thing before I move on to the CIU, the Conviction Integrity Unit, we've recognized over the last few years, I think we've done a very good job as an office looking at work-life balance and wellness. And I told you the last time when I was here that we have a Zen room where you can go for a few minutes and relax. We've had the therapy dogs come in to the staff. We have yoga classes and chiropractors that come in and chair massages that come in. And they're very popular. They do right on site in the middle of the day, lunchtime, whenever they do it. This year we had our first office picnic in a very long time. We're actually having a 5K, a prosecutor's office 5K along with the Detroit Police Department on Saturday. So we have a baseball team, a kickball team, and we have bowling tournaments. So these are all ways of trying to recruit and keep people and have that camaraderie because we are very, very stressed as an office because of the work that we do and what we hear from people who have done the worst to our citizens. And it can take a toll when you hear your 15th case of child abuse, how a child was abused and battered, and you have that on your whole docket. So it's hard. So we've tried very hard to do that. So I think that's also what's helped with our recruitment and retention. And of course, all of you know that when the GBA, the Government Bar Association, the lawyers in the office had their last contract, we were able to negotiate with the county, who was very good at listening and understanding and, raising the salaries. And they received a bonus. I think it was, I want to say $10,000 if they were here a year after the bonus. So all of these things that we've thought about and we have done differently, the county has been very open to listen to our ideas. And of course, you have to be open. You're open as well in making sure we have the funding for those ideas. So I want to thank you for that as well. So I want to talk just a minute about the Conviction Integrity Unit. It's the second point. I want to thank you again for funding this unit 5 years plus ago. We are a national model. We are one of the national models across the country, if not the national model, and I'll tell you why in a minute. We were the first county in Michigan to have a Conviction Integrity Unit because my view is that if you are running an office, you should never be afraid to look at old convictions to make sure that they were done in the right way. And so we do our very best to do that work. We have granted relief to 39 men. We have hundreds of cases we have found to be sound. And we are in the beginning stages of something you've probably never heard of. I hadn't. When I heard about it, I talked to the director of our unit, Valerie Newman, who again is looked at as a national leader in this area. It's called a Sentinel Review. And what a Sentinel Review does is done by the Quattrone Center in, I think it's Maryland, but I forgot, getting older. And a Sentinel Review costs $50,000. And I'll tell you, it's going to be free to the county, and I'll tell you how. And basically, we pick a case where there was a wrongful conviction, and the case is picked apart by all the stakeholders. It's a blame-free environment. So we're not trying to blame anybody. We're just trying to find out how we have this wrongful convictions and really look at it and study it. So we have the chief of police is at the table. Some of us top commanders are at the table. I'm at the table. We have a judge at the table. We have a defense organization at the table. We have everybody in the criminal justice system, not necessarily connected to that case, that we're really looking, and we're just starting that process now. We won't have a report until next year that we will release to the public. And again, everybody comes to the table knowing it's a blame-free environment. Because if we don't have a blame-free environment, we're not going to be able to get things done. So I was initially going to come to you and say, I need $50,000 and explain and all of that. But my director was able to find a federal grant that paid for the whole thing. And so it's free to our office and free to the county. So that's something else. And I would like to do, we'll see how this goes. Very experimental, it's kind of scary, stressful to do. But I'm very interested to find out the core reason why, in this case, there was something that went wrong. So we can improve ourselves in the future and there'll be less wrongful convictions. I've been told that there are not very many prosecutors that want to enter this process, but I really feel very strongly that we need to find out when things go wrong, why they went wrong, and then try to fix it. So again, I think you would have given me the money. I think I would, but I'm not asking for it because we did get it. So we've gotten over $1 million worth of grants for this unit, but none of the grants would allow us to pay for personnel. So that I'm getting to a point here. That is why when I was told about this new CEO recommendation, the good news is that I believe the amount of money that pays for the unit has been doubled. And so I want to thank you for that as well. And I hope that you adopt the whole recommendation. And I really thank the CEO and his staff for including those funding for us, because we need it with 1,000 backlog cases. And there's been many news reports, it seems, in the news lately about a particular homicide detective who may have tainted many cases. And of course, I wasn't going to talk about the recommendation from the CEO, because I'm not going to jinx anybody. I'm not going to receive a call from me. Why are you talking about something? You might not get it just because so that kind of thing. So I wasn't going to talk about that. But we've been heavily criticized for not commenting on that. And this is why, because I wanted to make sure that that funding was approved by you. And then I'll be able to, that'll give me the opportunity to hire somebody that can focus on those cases as well. So moving on. And actually, let me just mention one other thing. We always are trying to think of creative ways to do things. And one of the things that we did is my director, Valerie Newman, has a class at University of Detroit Mercy Law School where she has students assist her and to look into some of these cases. So two of the many cases that they looked at over the last couple of semesters enabled us to give relief to 2 people through the work of the students because we didn't have the staff to do it. And so that's something that's ongoing. And I want to tell you one more thing. The chair, you mentioned Wayne State. This is something I really haven't publicized, but I think is a good opportunity. One of the things that I thought of when we started having more and more exonerees and people that we gave relief to is the time that they spent there where they weren't able to go to school, they weren't able to do a lot of other things. So I approached several college presidents. One of them was Roy Wilson, Dr. Wilson. And I had a benefactor that put up the money so that any exoneree that wanted to go to college for free. We've had, I think, 2 or 3 go through. And they not only have the monetary support where they don't have to pay any kind of tuition, but they have housing support. They have support of even some students are involved and some, I don't want to say mental health support, but support because they haven't been to school in a very long time. So we're not just putting them on campus and paying their tuition. We're building but that's what we designed. We're building a system around them where they can be successful. So I wanted to let you know that too. I want to move on to the third point in its fiscal year 2023, 2024 accomplishments. This is not an exclusive list, and we do have a list that's more exclusive in our materials that we submitted in the 31 questions that you asked us to answer. We had in 3 days, maybe 2.5 days.
Who's counting?
So, yeah, I am. Because we like to do things a certain way in the prosecutor's office. We like to be thorough and get all the information out. So you maybe lose a few hairs. But anyway, it's very important that we answer these questions because we like you to have them, to study them, I hope, at some point, and just really see what makes us tick and where we're trying to go in our philosophy and what we're trying to do. We are certainly responsible for many mandated functions you asked about. You certainly know that we tackle violent crime and other types of crime. You know that we do that. But some of the things in there you didn't know that we did. And so I just like you to have that as a reference. Some of the things we did this year that I think were very successful, and this might be over a year now, but I'm going to mention we have a canine advocate. I have long wanted a canine advocate for years. And the advocate is usually someone who did not pass the course when it came to a leader dog for the blind. And so we have an organization that we worked with and works with many prosecutors across the state, but Wayne County did not have one. Many counties do. And really what Jelly Bean, our dog, does is comforts the children and is with the children in court. And we talk to judges who allow them to come into the courtroom and be that support for that child. She does much more than that, but we were able to finally get one. It may have been at the end of the last fiscal year, but I'm putting it here because we've had it for a while. I think you all know we have the launch of PBK of our digital system. We want to continue to build on that. We were able to this year do a 3-week, I wanted to do this for a long time as well, a 3-week intensive training with our very new lawyers that we just hired, with our project consultant legal aides that I told you about, and with staff that had been with the office for less than a year. And so we did that. It was a very hard thing to do because we had to pull them all from where they were and have senior staff and others fill in because the court didn't stop and the work that we had to do didn't stop. But we want to make sure, because we have an extremely young staff, still very young, because we are even with our recruitment and retention efforts, we're having a very difficult time recruiting lawyers that have experience, lawyers that can walk in our front door and do a homicide, do a child abuse case. Very hard to do. And we have our new prosecutors that we have to train and build them up and help us do these cases. So that's still very difficult, but we were able to do that intensive training this year. We have a backlog warrant project that we're doing now. And through some of the funding that we received from the state, we have a number of backlog warrants that are mainly not in custody, those potential defendants that are not in custody in the jail. And so we have a large number. We had this problem before the pandemic, but during the pandemic, they really built up. Because as you recall from when I was here last year, we had lawyers with 50 homicide cases apiece and some just numbers that were obscene that we were asking our staff to do. That's come down quite a bit through our efforts. And so we are actually, and we had to go through the union and have an MOU, go through the county with the MOU. We did all that. And so since we have the digital system prosecuted by Carpel, or PBK, as we call it, they're able to do these backlog warrants from home on their own time. So we are paying them time and a half to get these done. And so I think the last number was we have caught up on over 1,200 of these backlog warrants. And so that's a big project we're going to continue. And so again, it hasn't cost the county anything. This week we were able to get a grant, but one day it might, because so remember this, that project may run out, the money may run out. So I've already talked, we had a gun violence grant that we are working with now, where it's cases involving guns, obviously, but not just possessory guns or having a gun, but any case that happened with a gun. So we were able to hire more people with that. And like I said, the reason why I'm bringing all this up is because when that grant runs out, I'm going to be sitting here asking for those cases, for those personnel to be covered, but I'm not asking this year. We've moved into the CJC. And so that was as I told the CEO and James Heath a couple of days ago, just a well nuanced, organized move. My credit goes to the point people in my office, Mark Hindelang, and then my executive assistant, Iwana Session. A lot of work, moving everything, not just in Frank Murphy, but also the sheriff's department, the judges. It was just something like I've never seen before. And it was so well coordinated. I just have to give kudos for that. We are, one of the things, and almost done, another thing that we're doing this year is, with our sexual assault kit project, you all know about that. I didn't bring the latest stats with me, but I think we're at 257 rapists off the street as a result. But I think you all know, and I'll brag on my office, we are a national model. So we're not only a national model in the CIU, we're also we are the national model by far when it comes to the rape. And that they hear about that. So we've started doing what we call forensic genetic genealogy, and I'm not going to go through what that all is, but that's a new way of finding out who the perpetrators of crime is, using a very nuanced DNA. And our vendor is Parabon, and I'll come to public safety.
Gave us the example last year.
Yes,
Yeah, I
yes,
remember that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we had our second case this year. And at the example I gave you last year, when we were able to find the rapists of I believe it's 5 or 6 young girls just walking, young girls, 13 to 17. I don't know if I told you that there was a person in prison for one of those rapes that we were able to exonerate as a result of the forensic genetic genealogy. And so we are going to continue our aggressive recruitment and retention policies. We're going to continue using forensic genetic genealogy. And we are continue to get to what I wanted to do for the entirety of my time as the elected prosecutors, have 2 prosecutors per courtroom, like every other urban prosecutor's office in this country. And in fact, in Chicago, I think they have 3 that are assigned per courtroom. And so we are trying to pair a newer lawyer with a more seasoned lawyer. And so we're able to do that a little bit now, but our goal is to have 2 prosecutors per courtroom. And that still really isn't even enough with the workload that we do here in Wayne County, but that's still a goal that we were able to start this year. I have two more things I want to talk about. Take me a few minutes. Our short-term goals for next fiscal year, the one that we're here talking about now, we want to continue the progress we've made this year. Our Register of Deeds could no longer fund our deed fraud unit. And remember, our deed fraud unit is, again, first of its kind in the country when we did it years ago. It's a collaboration with the sheriff, the Register of Deeds in our office. And we have prosecuted defendants who have literally stolen houses out of the hands of the rightful owners. So we do a lot of those cases. They're very time intensive. And the Register of Deeds has been funding it for all these years, and we thank him for that, but he could no longer do that. So we had to put that funding in our general fund and pay for that this year. And I think we're able to do it with the recommendation that was done by the CEO. We want to expand our violent crime unit. These are the prosecutors that handle all of the beginning work of all the homicides that happen in the city of Detroit. Again, as you can imagine, some of the toughest cases that we've all heard about were handled by them. And so we want to expand that. We would like to expand it to the entire county and have that available for our other county cities as well. We want to do the same thing with domestic violence, as you probably know, and the numbers are still the same. Police agencies submit to us about 10,000 cases. Yes, I said 10,000 cases of domestic violence per year. We issue about a little under half of them, but those are the ones that we worry about because those are the ones that can sometimes turn into homicides. One of the things that I just want to mention one more time is that defense, who are much better funded than we are, frankly, they don't even see. So domestic violence, let's just say we issue 4,000 of the 10,000. That's 6,000 cases the defense never sees and doesn't have to do any work on. So there is no parity when it comes to that kind of work. We want to completely this year eliminate our backlog when it comes to not in custody warrants. We want to be able to present to you the findings of the Sentinel review I talked about earlier. We want to fill all of our vacancies. We want to finish all the rape kit cases. This is the 15th anniversary of that. And then one of my dreams since 2005 has been we want to have a community court. And just very briefly, some of you have heard me talk about this before. What community courts, we want to have 3 of them. And this is where, just pick a neighborhood in Detroit or out county, and let's just say they're plagued by auto thefts. They don't know when they walk out of their house in the morning whether their car is going to be there, whether they can get to work. And so we're able to find the person either is found guilty or pleads guilty to stealing those cars. We want to turn it over then to the community. We have to have the cooperation of the judges, of course. We want to turn over the sentencing aspect to community members, and they will decide what the sentence should be of the person who stole those cars. And so it's designed, it's kind of a restorative justice thing I wanted to do for over 15 years now. And I just think it's a way for the community to have buy-in, that they're a part of the criminal justice system for their neighborhood. They know what's best for the neighborhood. The solution would be something short of jail or prison. It could be you have to sweep the home, rake the leaves of everyone in the neighborhood, or especially the senior citizens. You have to shovel the snow of the senior citizens. You have to clean the playground, something that community reveres. And that would be their criminal punishment instead of going to jail or prison. Of course, this is for lower level offenders. Obviously, we're not going to have people charged with murder doing that or child abuse, but obviously a lower level offense. It helps with everything. Plus, I just think it's a good program that I've been trying to do for a long time. We think we may have the funding, so I'm hoping by the end of this fiscal year, we will get that going. So, really like that idea, and so hopefully one day we'll be able to do that with the proper funding. Last thing I want to mention, and this I just wanted you to be aware of some of our long-term goals, and the reason I'm telling you that again, and you are the funding source, and these are things I'm going to be talking to you about in the coming months. So I'm just giving you a preview now. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we want to do is we want to have what I'm calling a restorative justice program for youth. And what this would be is when we already have the juvenile mediation program that I've talked to many of you about, where we pre-charge, we have a mediator come in, the parents come in, the students come in, and they try to come to a solution short of us charging criminally. The victim has to be involved. We want to do something for the juveniles who have more serious charges and who are committed to the state, for example. And we want to try to have the victim of whatever it was, a carjacking, whatever it was, talk with and meet with them before they are released in society. I'll explain this more later, but this is something we want to do. We want to have several community courts around the county. Another thing I'd like to see before I leave this position, whenever that may be, is a 24-hour warrant review. If we have, like they do across some major offices across the country, urban areas, Atlanta, Houston, and some others, and they don't have warrant backlogs because they have a 24-hour operation. So there are several ways you can do that. We would love to see that. That would lessen the people in the jail. That would not, our citizenry wouldn't have to wait, months and months and months because we have a backlog. And also, and this is a pie in the sky idea, but I don't think any idea is impossible. We think that should come with a companion night court where you have 36D or whomever have a night shift, and they can get these these defendants in and out and make these decisions not just during the regular 9 to 5 or 9 to 4:30, 9 to 4, whatever it is. And so these are big ideas. They're ideas that are going to cost money, but these are some of our long-term goals, and we have others as well. So I think I'll stop there. And then we want to make sure we continue to we build on our digital system and have a state-of-the-art system. We want to be able, we want to have a real dashboard so our community will have great transparency, know what we're doing, who we're charging, what their race is, what their ethnicity is, and what we are charging them with. And so again, I tried to talk fast because I wanted to stay within 10 minutes. Did I?
Oh, you
didn't?
You blew that about an hour
No,
ago.
I did not. I have spoken for an hour before.
You have, but this was not that part.
No, this is
Right,
not.
right.
No,
Okay,
this
but
is
let me just say
I
this.
really tried hard.
No, but I know, but
So-
you got a lot going on. But you know what you also have that you don't that you need to know the commission appreciates is Tony. Tony keeps us very well up to date on the stuff that you're doing. He's always, even when we don't ask, he informs us of the things that you all are doing over there, and he's your biggest champion over there when it comes to come over here. But let me just say this: you gave some great ideas, but one thing I just want to talk about, you specifically talked about programs that you're now receiving grants from, and that the county is not funding, but at some future point that you intend on coming to the county executive and thereby the commission with having us to fund those operations. So I'm just going to say on that note, data collecting is going to be very important, because as much as we have had a lot of money come in from Washington and we have a huge surplus and fund balance or whatnot, one thing that I've talked to the executive about, yes, we want to make sure that we are having a robust county operation and making sure we take care of employees and all of that. But we also have to keep in mind that there's not going to always be this flush of cash.
I understand.
So data is going to be very important so we can be able to measure what should be given priorities. And then also I'd like to say that one thing that you mentioned, like the warrant review, 24 hours. You mentioned the night court. That is a high priority and should be a high priority and need for and reflective of public interest and the benefit to the public, to the point that we may want to begin those conversations with the legislature as far as identifying some funding for that. And I think that we should move on that sooner. I think that'll be huge. The public would really appreciate that. Also, I'd like to ask if you would submit your notes. You had some incredible presentations. I want those notes so we can have a complete record to our staff. And so those are my comments. And then I will now call on Commissioner Baydoun, Commissioner Anderson on this side, and then we'll move over to my left.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Madam Prosecutor, for this very in-depth presentation. And let me start off by acknowledging my good friend, Tony Guerrero. He's a great asset in your department, and we appreciate everything that he does. You touched on several things, Madam Prosecutor. I'm glad to hear that the deed fraud unit is not going to go away. It's going to be funded from your department. And I love the idea of this community court, especially when it comes to reckless driving. We want to be able to take these vehicles away from these kids that are these vehicles are becoming like weapons. They're killing innocent pedestrians, innocent drivers. We had several cases, I'm not going to mention them now, where, innocent people were killed as a result of these reckless drivers. from your perspective, Madam Prosecutor, if someone is arrested for doing donuts on the middle of the freeway or in Dearborn or any other city within Wayne County, you know, in one of these fancy, very expensive chargers or whatever they are, is there anything that's preventing Wayne County from taking over these vehicles, auctioning off these vehicles? I mean, is there a state law that does not allow you to go to a certain point in terms of, because we really need to teach some people, some kids lessons, because they're causing a lot of nuisance and headache for a lot of the Wayne County residents, especially in Dearborn. It's a big problem.
Yeah, and the community court wouldn't be a part of that, because that's a more serious venture where we would have the traditional way
Okay.
of making sure that we arrest the right person, convict the right person, and then have the judge decide the sentence along with our input. It's mainly for lower level offenders, but there is sadly, ever since the pandemic, and I know most of us look at life now pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, but I did not notice these issues prior to the pandemic. And I have my own theories as to why, but I won't talk about those today. But that has been a huge, huge issue everywhere. It's not just the donuts. It's not just the drunk driving, because drunk driving, you know, it could be a quote unquote regular, you know what I mean, a quote unquote average drunk driving case could be a 0.08. But now we're seeing 2.2, 3.1. We're seeing just horrific rates of drunk driving in these cases. We're seeing people dodge cars at 100 miles an hour on Michigan Avenue. We're seeing people drive cars of close to 100 miles an hour on Telegraph Road. And so main thoroughfares, and of course the freeways at even higher rates than that, through residential neighborhoods, driving at excessive speeds. It is as if that no one thinks that the rules of the road mean anything anymore. I'm sure every single day, everyone within the sound of my voice has seen people run stop signs, not even think about stopping, run red lights, not even think about stopping, and causing some serious accidents and just not following any of the rules of the road. It's like they're not even there. So this is a huge issue for us. We've had some horrific cases recently, some that we're looking at now, some that are awaiting trials, and I'm sure some that are going to be coming in tomorrow to my office. And I tried to stop myself from calling them accidents, because that's not what they are. It's criminal behavior. And this includes the donuts, this includes the drag racing, this includes all of that. This very commission passed a law that enhanced our ability to do some of that. But quite frankly, in other areas of forfeiture, we're having some real issues in doing things like that we're trying to fix or contribute to. And so it is a huge problem. We all know it. We all see it every single doggone day. And we all are concerned about what the result's going to be. I have 15-year-old girls that are twin 15-year-old girls that are ready to drive. They're not driving. I don't think they're responsible enough. And I think that now our teen drivers or anyone learning to drive needs to be even, I don't know if it's more educated. I don't know what it is that has to happen, but you need a lot more than you used to need before people get behind the rules of the road. I mean, get behind the wheel of a car. So yes, we've had some horrific ones in Dearborn for sure.
Thank you. Again, I just want to mention this. You've been the gatekeeper of Wayne County, and I am very proud of all the units within department that are acting as role models throughout the country. I mean, that makes me very proud.
We really try hard, and this is kind of a residual effect. We didn't know it was going to have this effect, but some of the program that we've done over the last 20 years, I listed some of them there. And as you all know, we were doing this program before there was even a term progressive prosecutors. We were looking at prosecution in a different way. Because we've been locking people up for time immemorial and we still have a huge crime problem. So that doesn't mean we're not going to be we're still going to be very, very tough on violent crime and very tough on crime, period. But we also believe with second chances and diversion programs and all this other stuff. So things, very important things. So we really try hard to bring honor not only to this office, but bring honor to the county. We try to save the county money each and every day by trying to find other ways to pay for it. We, like I said before, and I'll say it again because I'm proud of it, we're national models in at least 3 areas of things that we're doing that we have championed and we have done a good job, and people will call us and say that. People will stop me on the street and say that. When I'm in other jurisdictions, believe it or not, they will say that. And we're very proud of our work in these areas, and we're very proud that we are Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. So we really try hard to do that. And we try to be hard to be ethical and do everything that we're supposed to do. But it's difficult. And I don't want you to think just because I'm very happy with this budget recommendation that it's ideal, but it's really good and a step in the right direction. But what it really does is shows that the CEO and you recognize our value and our hard work and recognize the fact that we want to have a good county. So there's always more we can do, always more that we're going to do. It still doesn't fully staff us, but it gets us a lot closer than we were in the past.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And so in this order, we'll go to Commissioner Anderson, Commissioner Scott, Commissioner McCormick, Commissioner Marecki, and then Commissioner Clemente will be the last. Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Oh, no, Marecki's gone. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yes,
she's
oh,
gone.
yes, she's here in spirit.
Thank you. Madam Prosecutor, I'm just amazed at what you've been able to do and your staff. And I'll give Tony another shout out that he's been terrific to come to the meetings and keep us posted on everything that you're doing and answering a lot of questions for us before we even have to contact you. And I just marvel at the things that you're trying to do. And, I think what you said just a few minutes ago is probably your hallmark that, and that doesn't mean I'm accepting that you're leaving anytime soon, because I don't know if anyone told you, but you're here for life.
No, but for a
If
while.
we have anything to
Yeah.
say about
Yeah.
it.
No, I
But-
love this job and what I'm doing.
Yeah,
what
I
we are doing.
I just wanted to say that what you said a few minutes ago about never being satisfied with the way things are without trying something to make things better, paraphrasing it.
Yeah.
I that's always the way I've tried to operate, never accept. It's the way we've always done it. And unfortunately, that was something that a lot of people always saw Wayne County as representing, Wayne County government, that we're okay with how things are going now, so why look to something different or something better? But obviously, you don't subscribe to that, and I admire you for that. I really do. That you're always looking at other possibilities and things that the county can do as far as your office to make things better for the people that live in Wayne County. And that's all I have to say.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And I'll say again, I said it once, I'll say it again. I have a staff that is really gone through some hard times. Really, really bad times. Things are, like I said, getting better, but we still have to do better. And they work so hard, so very, very hard. And none of this could happen without them. So I want to make sure that I say that again. None of it. Thank you.
And it really touches me to hear what you said about what they have to deal with, what the
Mhm.
cases they have to deal with, and the type of whether it's child abuse, whether it's domestic abuse. Child abuse is probably the hardest thing it must be for anyone to have to deal with and to handle a case like that. But thank you again for what you're doing and your staff is doing. I appreciate those that are here today. And I apologize, Mr. Chair, but I have to take off and get a campaign report filed.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson.
Thank
I
you.
just want to make sure it's clear also. I'm not just talking about the lawyers. I'm talking about the investigators. I'm talking about the advocates. I'm talking about the support staff, everyone that works within the office to try to make it all happen. It couldn't happen without them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Madam Prosecutor, I get more and more amazed at you. This is truly your mission, because you're able to just pull all of these things together and just doing such a fantastic job over the years. And you're going to hang around for a long time because I'm going to ask God to keep blessing you because, in your office, because you have to have all of that, and now we've got a beautiful building over at CJC, and I'm glad you like it over there, because that just makes you want to work even harder, when you're in a place that you really like to be in and to do. And I know that you've had some hardships, all of those files and stuff that was all out in the hallways and stuff. So I just thank you.
You're welcome.
So
Thank you.
just keep on and whatever personally I can do and the county here that as we continue to work together. I'll
Well,
be
you've been
glad.
supportive of me for, I have to say, I think maybe longer than everybody at the table, maybe I
Yeah,
shouldn't say that.
yeah.
But from the very beginning, when we were ostracized and talked about and not supported, and you've been there the whole time, even if you weren't always the only one, but you were one of the few
Right, yeah.
that
we-
always were in our corner.
Way up in the
Yeah,
center.
Yep, yep.
Back then.
Thank you.
Well, I'm just glad, because see, I know that God gave me a mission and I can see it in you, what you do.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Good afternoon, Wayne County Commissioner Monique Baker McCormick, representing Northwest Detroit and Redford Township. Just saying that for folks on Zoom. So you are truly making a difference. You and your staff, Tony, we love Tony. He's always on point, on time, and we really thank you for all that you do as well. I too, when I became a commissioner, it was about making a difference and looking at things differently. And I think Commissioner Anderson just kind of said it, that, you have a vision for things that may not be right now, but you want to change what is to make it better in the future. So I really appreciate that, because I think the same way. In fact, yesterday I brought up water parks, because I get issues from constituents that want to be cooler in the summer as the summers get hotter and hotter. And it was like, oh, what's that about? But you have to really have a vision for change, and that's what I see in you. And so with that, to the budget, you have some items highlighted, and I just wanted to clarify what the highlights meant in the budget. Is these salaries that need to be increased? I don't know if you know what those lines or highlights mean exactly.
So I'm gonna ask.
Okay.
I believe they're pursuant to CBAs, but I will let her speak to that.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't know if all of you, I'm sorry, all of you met the finance director, James Williams, who is our new finance director. You'll be
Okay.
getting to know very well.
Well, he can come and have a seat up here.
Yeah, if he wants.
It's right there.
Good afternoon. Mhm.
Please,
Yeah.
Introduce yourselves for the record, please, both. If you,
Is it?
Can't hear you.
Just hold it down.
Go ahead, please.
There you go.
Good afternoon, Jihan Asek, and I'm the administration director. We highlighted those two columns because we were asked to show those. So we just highlighted the salary, all the salaries. You will
Mhm.
see that all the columns for the salaries and the positions.
Okay, the
So-
yellow highlights. So,
The yellow highlight
Mhm.
what we submitted to budget to move from one department to the other.
okay,
Yes.
all right. So it's not that you particularly wanted those increased.
No.
Okay, that's what I was
Yes,
trying to
we-
clarify.
when we submitted the budget to the CEO, to Management Budget Division, we were letting them know that we're moving these positions from this business unit to another business
I
unit.
see, I see. Okay, and as compared to other communities, and the pay scale, I know we're still under. What's the variance? Can you kind of give us a feel for where we are right now to where we should be?
I assume you're not talking about me,
No, not your pay, but I meant,
because there's a huge variance.
yeah, yeah, but,
No, we've had very good success working with, the commission has passed these issues, but working with the CEO in their office about comparisons and increasing salaries. And we actually were, for about 5 minutes, among the highest paid beginning lawyers in the state.
5 minutes.
Yeah, about 5 minutes. Because as soon as, I'm not gonna say as soon as others find out that they raised too, but we're at 75,000.
Mm.
And that is a compatible rate and a comparative rate. that allows us to attract, because when the previous salaries, people wanted to come here, but could not or would not because of the student loans and because of the other things, and they're getting higher offers from other counties or other areas of the law. And so it has made us competitive.
Right.
So, and that's a great thing. The retention bonus has made us repetitive and know that we want to keep people. And everything else that I've described that we've tried to do is to also add to that, the wellness and everything else we've talked about. So it's a hard job. We do more cases per prosecutor than any place else in this country.
Mhm.
And that we do, and I say this all the time, between 65 and 70% of all of the criminal cases in the state.
Hmm.
We do more cases if you add up the other 82 counties and add up everything they do, Wayne County does more
Wow.
than the entire other 82.
Okay.
So it's a very, very difficult job. It's a job that we strive to do right. It's a job that we ascribe to do well. But you read the news and you read the newspaper and hear things just like I did. Now, not everything you hear is accurate,
Mhm.
but even if half of it is accurate, you can tell the issues that we have to deal with and the cases we have to deal with. So yes, that salary does make us competitive at the lower levels, and then and more money for others as you go up the chain.
Great, great. And you talked about retention and looking at a program for students that student interns that may want to stay here. One suggestion, I'm not sure you've looked into, somewhat like the exchange student program where residents in the community would take in a student. I'm not sure if that's
Yeah,
something.
that was something
you've
that's
thought
a great idea.
Yeah, because I would consider that myself,
Mhm.
you know, but just a thought.
No, that's a good thought, and we will
Okay.
consider that. We just want to be able to say, you know what, if you come here, we know you're not making a lot of money, you will get the experience that you will never have anywhere else.
Mhm.
We'll get you on the record. We'll do things that you won't do in any other prosecutor's office. And we will also subsidize your housing.
Okay, and then the question.
That's where we want to get.
Okay, great. Youth restorative justice. What does that program exactly look like? Or
Well,
are
this is a
you
program that's in my head right now.
formulating?
Yeah, it's a
Okay, you're
program that's in my head right now.
Okay.
But the idea is that, because we have our juvenile mediation program that I described for people before they're charged with a crime. But we also, I think, we need to pay attention and have programs not just for lower level offenders, but also for offenders who committed higher crimes. Because what we want to do, especially in the juvenile arena, we want to try to stop them from becoming a bigger, better criminal in the adult arena. So one of the thoughts that I had was, if we can take off on our juvenile mediation, we get the victim to come in that maybe was carjacked, and they can talk to the person that's been committed to the state or getting ready to be released from probation, who we want to then put back into our community. We want to put back into the community a person who doesn't want to do those things anymore. And I understand this is not as easy as what I'm talking about, but my thought was, at least some of them, if you can get the victim of the crime to come and talk to them about how you have affected my life. You carjacked my car. As a result, I lost my job. I couldn't buy a new car. I just had, I had now have mental health issues. There's all kinds of issues that I have. I can't take my children to school. I can't work, or whatever. And it's my hope can reach a person or two. At least they have the knowledge of what they did to that person. Because if that happened to your mother or your sister or your father, or anybody, you would understand, I hope, what the result of your actions were. So that's something that I'm formulating. Still looking to see how we want to set that up. We haven't studied it yet, but that's a long-term goal that I have, that I would like to see.
Okay.
At least we've tried to do something when we're getting ready to release people back into their communities.
Yeah, and I appreciate that because it's very proactive rather than always reacting. I mean, you're reacting to what they did, but you're trying to get on top of that.
Yep.
So I appreciate that. And so the grants that you guys are expert at grant writers because you continue to talk about all of the grant funding that you receive. And so you're looking at grant opportunities for that type of program as well?
Yeah, so when I get it formulated and we sit down, we try to figure out how we want to do it. And
Okay.
then of course, the biggest piece is putting together a budget.
Right.
I mean, even with the community court, we have a budget, but we have posted a director and things like that. We still haven't had many takers, so we've got to step up the efforts there. So there's a lot of work to do in that area, but it was a long-term goal I wanted you to know about now. Because as the chair said, some of those long-term goals, you might want to start talking about now.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
Okay. Last question. 39 men, that, or I guess all men.
They're all men, yes.
Yeah,
so
that
far.
were exonerated. What's the makeup of these men? as far- yes,
Demographics?
Demographics, yeah, and,
Not all of them are exonerees.
Oh,
Some are
okay.
exonerees. Some of them we granted relief to because their trial was so devoid of justice that they didn't get a fair trial based on new information, on new evidence that are uncovered. Doesn't mean they didn't do it. In fact, there's some that I think did it, but they did not have a fair shot at justice. And what a prosecutor is supposed to do, we're supposed not only do what prosecutors traditionally do, but we're also supposed to make sure that justice is done and that due process is done. So sometimes that means dismissing a case of a defendant you know is guilty, but the process hasn't been correct, or the witnesses we find that are not truthful, or the witnesses we can't find them, or whatever. And so I feel comfortable in that role because again, we want the process to be a fair process and a just process, and sometimes the processes are not. In fact, they're very devoid of justice. So that caused us to grant relief. And so I don't know what the demographics are, but the exact demographics are, but I can tell you, just a guess, and don't hold me to this, probably 80% of them, maybe 85%, maybe higher,
okay.
are African-American men.
Okay, and from the
Most of them are.
Detroit area or
Not all from Detroit, but certainly
Okay.
from the Wayne County
Wayne?
area.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Not all Detroit cases.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
And
Mayor.
then last will be Commissioner Clemente.
Thank you very much for your work and for your staff and for thinking outside the box and listening to people and your staff. I'm sure bringing you lots of ideas. The grants are amazing because it is helping. I really don't have any questions or anything to add because everybody has kind of asked all of them, but I think that your work and your staff and your whole department is doing a fantastic job. I have been recruiting and anytime I hear about any young lawyers that I know that want to be prosecutors and come work in Wayne County, I'm sending them your way.
Thank
So
you,
just so
appreciate
you know
that. Just before I leave, we do have $10 million of grants that we're going to lose in the next 2 years. So again, this may be a different conversation next year. So, but that doesn't mean we're not going to start looking to try to find ways to supplement the supplements. And I don't want anybody to walk away despite our feelings about, and I stand by them strongly, that we believe in second chances and we believe in diversion programs, all that. We also believe in combating violent crime and gun violence, very serious too. And I think if you know anything about me or have read anything, you know that we've also tried very hard in those areas to make sure that we are delivering a safe Wayne County the best that we can do.
Well, I want to thank you and your team. And would you formally, like, I guess, introduce everyone?
James Williams, who is our new finance director. And
Yes.
of course, you know, Gigi,
Yeah,
or Gigi. My chief of staff, Daryl Carson.
Know her?
Director of communications, Maria Miller. And then you all know Tony.
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you. And thank you all for attending the hearing today.
Thank you.
With that,
Thank
you're
you.
excused.
All right,
Thank you.
I almost forgot. Thank you. I love the colors though.
Next item, Madam Clerk.
I would like a motion to pass the item for the day.
Okay, the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Support.
One moment, one moment. Okay, okay, yes, okay, minutes, okay. Okay, so at this time, we're going to go to the minutes and I'm gonna ask for a motion to pass the minutes for the day. No, what? Okay, at this time, I'll ask for a motion to pass the unfinished business of pass it for the day. Motion is in order. Been moved and supported to pass for the day. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, this action stands approved.
We will now return to item C, approval of minutes from the September 4th, 2024 meeting.
So moved on the minutes.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, this item stands approved. Next item, Madam Clerk.
We're now returning to item E, unfinished business. There is none listed. Moving to item F, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
I know of none. Next item.
Item G, public comments.
At this time, I'd like you to unmute the folks or individuals on Zoom. And I'd like to ask individuals on Zoom if you would like to address this committee to please indicate such as by raising your hand. And Madam Clerk, I ask if there are any hands raised, or have you received any other communication through chat, text, or email?
There are no hands on Zoom and no emails have been received.
Thank you. Public comment is closed. Next item.
Item H, adjournment.
Motion is in order. Been moved, supported. All those in favor say, oh, sorry. Anyone in the audience who wants to address the committee? Anyone in the audience? It's been moved and supported to adjourn. And all those in favor